All right, so this is my home buyer questionnaire, and I was just actually having this conversation in the coaching call before this. I think this is probably the best way I've learned, and I've tried out a lot of different things, of how to convert people specifically at an open house. And I've been really successful at that this year. I don't know why just this year. I have had this before, but I don't think I was utilizing it properly. I was kind of waiting until I got a lead or I was connected with, by a referral agent, whatever it was. I was really waiting for that connection to happen with a buyer before sending it. And then I realized, I'm like, well, why don't I try leveraging this at an open house? Because I wasn't able to talk to everybody. I'm sure we all have open houses that are just packed right now with lines out the door. And I would see this great couple leave, and I'm like, they didn't even get to talk to Kate and let me convert them. So how can I talk to them after the fact and really make sure that, they are reaching out afterwards? So this has been a great way that I've done that. So this is the whole thing. It's basically like a buyer wish list. So tell us a little bit more about what would make your ideal home. And then please let us know when you've completed this form, even though I get alerted, so we can schedule our consultation call to review the answers together. So that's a little bit about when I was talking about my buyer processing a couple of weeks ago, whatever it was. I've always referenced this. So that consultation call, this is how I get somebody on a collection. That's like why I don't do the collections previously, because I don't really think there's going to be a high convert with that if I have no idea what they're looking for, or what their situation is. So this is what I go through here. Map of Westchester. I felt like that was something that was really helpful to people, because I was getting people putting in these random towns, and then I'd be on the consultation call with them and they'd say, oh yeah, I actually had no idea what that town was. I've just heard of it. I'm like, okay, well, just because you've heard of it means it's 40 minutes past where you want to be. So let me give you a map, not the best map, but it's something that was made years ago. So I use this way they can, at least if they don't know anything about any of these areas, at least they can see where it is. Obviously here is closer to New York City. And then the further north you get, the more lots, bigger lots and all that kind of stuff you get. So that's the first question. We're also a heavy school district area. You guys know that about me and market. So I think that's also really important. And if they don't care about the schools, it doesn't matter, then great. They can just not check off any of these. They don't have to check off every single question in here. And sometimes people fill out like 2 or 3 questions. Fine. At least I know more about them than I did before. Simple things: bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage amount. I used to have this be like a scale, and I felt like people felt like that was too difficult to do. So I made it just a short answer text. And then describe the style of home that you gravitate towards. Check off any of the following that are important to you. So this is going to be a big one for you guys that I think you'll probably want to change up, and you guys can just go in and edit these check marks when you make a copy. For us, we found like close to train is a huge one for us. Close to town, shopping, dining, backyard space, home office, obviously, home gym, hardwood floors, pool, updated kitchen and baths, year built, central AC, and finished basement. So those are probably like the biggest things people are going to look for here. And I love when somebody checks off all of these and they're like, and we have $400,000 to spend. I'm like, okay, we're going to have a little conversation. And also it tells you a lot about them in that sense. Like I've definitely had this filled out before and people are just very unrealistic. I'm not saying I won't work with them, but it does show me a little bit more of like, okay, are these people going to be realistic? I'll obviously give them, my half an hour consultation call, but it's just helpful to know who you're working with going into the call. Looking for something turnkey or comfortable with some updating. And then what are your must-haves? I like that because I think sometimes you can't always hit it on there. So helpful just to see again where their head's at. What are you willing to budget for property taxes? Don't throw up if you guys are in an area that doesn't have high property taxes. Sorry, that's how much it is here. And then price range for the purchase price, which I actually don't care about that much, especially in a market like this. I really want to know, what do they want to spend all in monthly? So inclusive mortgage, taxes, and any HOA. Do you have a home to sell? Are you currently in a lease? How will you be financing the property? And my favorite question, because this is how I get a pre-approval. Yes, I don't take anybody out until I have a pre-approval from them. So if you're taking out a mortgage, do you already have a pre-approval letter from a lender or a mortgage broker that is updated to the current rates? Most properties will require a pre-approval in order to schedule a showing. Again, I've set this expectation up front with them. By the time somebody's done with this consultation call, I feel like they're so well coached by me. So that's kind of like what I try to take with me. I don't want to waste my time. If you don't have a pre-approval and you're just thinking you can spend this much, we're not there yet. We're not ready to go take a look at a house that's going to fly off the market in 24 hours. What is the point? So what would you like to purchase by? And anything else you think we should know? Preferred contact method. This way I'm not like, if somebody doesn't like to text, great, and they want to call, I know I'm going to call them all the time. Best time of the day to reach them, morning, afternoon, evening, and then providing all the contact info. So I have name, address, email, phone number. Some people have asked when I've shared this before, like, should I add a birthday there? I think you can, and I think it's a great way to get some more information on them. I just feel like I haven't even taken these people out to dinner yet. I don't know if I need their birthday. So that's my personal opinion on it, but whatever you guys feel is best, this is yours to go in and play around with. Yeah, Leslie.
Just quickly,
Yeah.
if you could say how you use this do you use, sorry, with regard to an open house, do you use this when you're following up with people who came to the open house, or how does that go down?
Yes. So I definitely will put it, everybody who came to the open house, this is like linked in the email. I don't really care that much about what I'm saying in it, because I think also where it rooted from was I would always write these emails like, please reach out if you have any questions. I don't think people know what to ask. So I felt like if I gave them a deliverable or an action item in the email for them to go and complete, there's a much better chance that they were going to click on it and at least look at it. If they didn't fill it out, at least they're looking at it. At least I'm getting them out of the email going somewhere that's branded to me. So I would really honestly never get responses. I mean, unless I had a great conversation, but I'm like, let me know if you have any questions. They're like, okay, yeah, we will. And the 10 other agents we saw at the open houses. So that's definitely a way that I do it in there. And then I just say, like, right after, I link it in the email. As soon as you have it filled out, we'll set up a consultation call. And if if you don't have time for the call, I'll just set up your collection based on the information that you provided in here. And I have no problem doing that sometimes if, they've really filled this out like to a T. I have a feeling they're very serious. Fine, I'll make an exception and we can make a collection out of it. But really, I mean, that might happen like 1 out of 5 times. Most people will be like, yeah, I want to discuss what I just put in here. Is this even realistic? And then the other way I'll do it is we have these books, which I know everybody's gonna be like, oh my God, Kate, share your book. I will share the book because it's like finally done. But we have like a 15-page home buyer guide to Westchester. And on the back of the book, we have like a little iPhone with the QR, with the questionnaire in the background. I made it on Canva. And then the QR code that goes to it. So that's great for when we do have these really busy open houses and people are able to just go in and scan that and then learn more about us afterwards. I think why people scan that back page is more so because of what's in the front 14 pages of it, which I will share with you guys. But this is something easy to, if you have a great conversation with somebody, I think this is a better follow-up than what I was saying before, just sending this generic email. Action item, that's what I try to focus on, giving something specific for people to go and do so that there's no confusion when we leave. Really long-winded answer. Hope everybody's still with me. Sorry. I can never just answer the question like, oh, here's how I do it, Leslie. It's like, let me give you the whole background of it. So that's how I do it. The only thing I'm going to show you guys like housekeeping with this is when you go into, where is it in send? Let's see, settings, sorry. When you go into settings here and you do responses, just make sure that this is not checked off, the restrict to users in Compass, because then if they don't have a Compass email, they won't be able to fill this out. I learned the hard way and I was like, maybe lost a client that way. So really make sure you have that. And then I like this collect email addresses, and I'll show you why, because when I go in here, and I won't give away everybody's info. Sure, Joe, let's do you. It's helpful because this is actually, I don't ask like for their name until the end of it, but sometimes people don't ask, don't actually write in their name. They just kind of fill it out with like a number or something. So having their email right up at the top is really helpful for me to know when I'm going through these, whose questionnaire it is that I'm looking at. And you could probably do name right at the top. I just felt like, let's just jump right into it. If I have your email, I'll remember who you are. It's all good. So that's a little bit of housekeeping on that. And yeah, any questions on this specifically?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I've created these for my team and they're great, but they're not receiving the responses once they're submitted. Can you show me where I'm going wrong with that in the settings?
So they're not seeing these responses?
They're seeing those, but they're not alerted once the buyer or seller has completed the questionnaire.
So I don't get like a push through alert. Like my version of like an alert is this is bookmarked on my page. And I know after an open house, I mean, there's not a day that goes by where I don't check this just in case someone decided to scan it weeks later. So I think training your team or training, yourself to just have this bookmarked and be checking it very consistently is something that needs to be done.
Okay, perfect.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, this is Pia from Northern Virginia. Back to the previous question. Google Forms does not give a push notification, but Jot Forms does. So if you wanted to use a different application, you can switch over to Jot Forms and it will email you when you get a questionnaire filled out.
Yeah, you could do that too.
Great.
I
Thanks.
actually get an email confirmation when someone has filled it out in Google Forms. So I don't know what setting I have set, but I do get an email.
Tell us what wizardry that is, because I haven't been able to figure it
I
out.
have no idea, but I can look, and Kate, I can email you if
text
I
me.
find it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll see if I have it in here. I go through this all the time, so I don't even really look for it, but I'm sure there's a way. It's Google
Okay,
to just send us something.
this is Linda.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
When you're at your open house, do you have multiple books or just one where they can scan it? And do you ever take your buyer questionnaire and have hard copies there for them to take with them?
Yes. So the books, everybody gets a copy. So I'll bring these days, I should probably bring 50 of these things. I think the open house have just been wild, the amount of people that are coming in, depending on the house. But I always try to have them printed. Yes, it's paper, and I'm sorry if nobody likes paper, but I like giving somebody something. I think buyers still, maybe I'm kind of old school, but when I go to something, I like to have something to take with me and read in the car when I'm going to the next open house. So I print all of them. They're 15 pages. And they're back and, front and back. So it's not a big deal. And then I will I binded one of them in our black books, which I don't give to people, but at least I have it to show as my example. I'm oh, here, when I'm showing them, and then I'm and here's your copy.
Okay.
And I do not print them and fill it out because I really don't, I just feel like I can never read people's handwriting anyway on there. And then I lose it. It goes to the back of my trunk and I find it at the car wash 2 months later. So I'd rather I'm very transparent. I know I live the same life as everybody else. And so I'd like just having the responses in here. And, if you lose somebody because of that, so be it. But it's just easier to have one process and stick to it, in my opinion.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, of course.
Kate, when you say that you have it on paper, I mean, because there is that buyer's book that we can do through Marketing Center. And I've seen some agents, they obviously are sending it to Express Docs or printer and having a really amazing book, which is also very expensive. So are you just doing it on heavier stock, or are you sending them out to a printer and having them made up?
I'm not sending them out to a printer because I find a new typo every day. So I have commitment issues with sending them out to a printer for 400 copies. So I just print them before the open house. And if there's leftover from last week's and I take them to the following week, I just print them on the glossy paper. You can print them on, the regular paper. What I was saying 20 minutes ago to one of my coaching clients is I don't really care. If an email has a typo or if your thing is printed on not the perfect glossy paper, I think that agents in general, and I might get some heat for this, I think they're so much more focused on the things that don't matter. Put value in this. And if this is printed on the back of a cardboard box, somebody's going to want to work with you. So that's the extra step at the end. Yes, I know, we all know me at this point. I know how to make things look pretty. I know how to do this on Canva, but at the end of the day, I also know that the content that I have in this is so much better than any other agent. That's why they're going to want to work with me. So don't get too caught up in having these printed perfectly, because a lot of the people, and This is not Compass, this is not another agent. It's just, I've been to these open houses before when I'm with my own buyers and I see what they have. I'm like, wow, this looks awesome. And you go in, it's like the most generic thing I've ever seen. I wouldn't take that no matter how pretty it is or what paperweight it is, because that's not helping me. So you can keep your book. And I mean, I've been with buyers who have literally said like, no, I'm good. You can keep your book. So put it on, like put value in here and I will share my book with you guys. You guys will see what I mean. It does not matter how it's printed.
No, I get
Yeah,
that,
Kate.
because if you're like printing them with a professional printer, and that's a pretty costly book that you're just
Yeah.
handing out to active open houses, you know?
Exactly.
Oh, no, it makes sense.
I like to
Somebody
keep
asked
my
though how
things
you bind
low.
it, or you just staple them together? What do you do?
Staple it together.
Oh, okay.
Keep it simple. Staple it together.
Actually, Kate, I like that because I have a buyer's guide and I always say this is constantly changing based on current market conditions. And then they
Exactly.
slowly
Yeah.
see that that's something personally from you. I really like that.
Yeah. Good. Good. Okay. No one was offended. Sorry. If you send your stuff to Express Docs, I still love you. It's still fine. I do too sometimes. But I think things like this, it's such a fluid document. Like you said, you got to keep it, just print it the night before the open house. You might need some new information on there. I mean, with everything going on with the banks and all this kind of stuff, it's like, I don't know what we're going to need to add into these home buyer questionnaires in the next few months. So keep it fluid. All right.
Yeah.
With a few minutes left, am I good to move on to sellers?
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
In general, what's the content that you do include? It sounds like you don't use the Compass thing. What's
No.
general?
I never use the Compass stuff. I always have to make it harder for myself. I won't go into depth with it now. I know you guys are going to want it. I probably shouldn't have said anything, but you would have found a gap in why I was saying I can convert people easily with this. So let me do a whole thing on it, and maybe we'll do next week. Sorry, CSC is going to kill me because I always change the topics. Let's do that next week, and I can do like a whole 30 minutes on it and then give you guys the template to go do. And if you don't have a Canva membership, save yourself like one thing on Express Docs. It's like $117 a year. If you get the pro version, best investment I've ever made. So I make this in Canva, what I'm going to share next week. I'm not saying you have to go buy the membership. I'm just saying it might make it easier for you to edit what I'm about to give you if you get the annual membership. All right, let's go into sellers. And my sellers one is good, but I think it's very market dependent because we're like a buyer beware state. So we don't have disclosures. So a lot of this you guys might find is redundant if you have seller disclosures, and you'll see what I mean. So home intake form, seller questionnaire. So like you'll see, like I have to put this note on it that it's not a property disclosure, and any questions, you want to leave blank, you can, because, that's how we work here. So simple, address of the property, operating costs. This is something I always like to have. I'm like known to be one of the agents in my market that has every T crossed and I dotted. So I want to have everything in there. I upload everything into the MLS. Like my listings look perfect and somebody's ready to make an offer because they don't have any gaps in, what they need to learn about the house. So this is how I get all of that. And then I keep it really organized in here. So simple: landscaping, garbage, sewer. I mean, anything you guys need, gas or oil, depending on your area, electric, water, all that. Then we get into the maintenance info. I would assume for a lot of you, you probably do this in your seller disclosures. If you don't, keep it simple. I don't need to know everything. I don't want to create a seller disclosure for my client in New York when they don't need to fill one out, but it is helpful for me to know the age. Even if you don't put all of this information on a deliverable that you give to incoming buyers, at least you know it. I would rather not be kept in the dark. So I'm like, tell me everything. Tell me your life story with this house, and then I'll tell you what we need to disclose or not based off of New York State. So roof age and type, exterior age, type, last painted, boiler, furnace, hot water heater, all the fun stuff. They have a water treatment, central air, sump pump, pest control contract, do you have a generator? If so, what type? That's the simple stuff. Same thing here. I don't know if you guys have this stuff on your disclosures, but like the age of the appliances. So I like to know that as well. Again, if something's like 25 years old, I'm probably not going to put that on my special features sheet and be like, hello, come take a look at this. But at least I know, and I can make sure it's working prior to the inspection. Additional upgrades. So This is something I really like because I love like letting people brag about their house, because I felt like when I would do these write-ups, I would always get these texts, and I'm sure we've all gotten them, like, why didn't you include that I have a warmer on my toilet seat in the first line of the description of my house? And I'm like, Sally, I love you. And this is literally going on with one of my clients I'm going to an open house for today. I love your Toto toilet, and I'm so happy you have it. That's going to go in the upgrades. I'm not going to actually put that in the listing description when I only have like 450 characters to work with. So give me all of that here so that I can, anything else that is important that they really, really, really want in that write-up, I have it in these next 2 questions. So I very rarely, since I started doing this questionnaire, which is only 2 months ago, I think, my sellers have been really happy, and they really felt like they were heard when they were describing the house to me. So upgrades and improvements can go there. And then my favorite question of this whole thing, because I love hearing people's stories about it, is what made this house your home? So while showing your home, it is always nice to share the parts of the house that made it home for you and your family. If you'd like, here's an opportunity to show off all the favorite rooms in the house, or share why your location was just perfect in the neighborhood. These personal anecdotes help us bring the best energy possible into the showings. And I do truthfully think the answers to this, which are very long and winded for my clients, is so helpful for me because I haven't lived in a house. And I think that's why I'm a very strong showing agent on when I am showing a house, because I tell the story, and this helps me to learn what the story is before. So from when somebody walks in, I'm talking about what's on the ceiling, and I'm listing this really awesome architecturally interesting house this weekend. And it was really helpful for me to learn about all that stuff that she was talking about. So I can even share, let me get Sally's thing. So like right in here, see heated bidet seats and Toto toilets there. I did not make this up, people. I didn't make it up. But like Kemper, roof, same thing on Madison Square Garden. They're architects. So like, I wouldn't have known that. I don't know what Madison Square Garden roof is made out of, but like, what a cool talking point for me to be able to say. And yes, these people are architects, but so many people have a bunch of these really cool things they know about their house that we would never know. So give them a chance to go and talk about it there. I find that my sellers are just much happier with me, and they feel very heard when I have it to go and refer back to. Otherwise, they're walking me through the house. I'm like, oh my God, Corinne, are you writing this down? Because I have no idea what they're saying. We're on like the 5th, lovely thing about their house. So that's something I really like. And then that's kind of it. You guys can add in any other questions you want here. Some people like to ask, like, what time do you want to show the house? They can kind of start to get into that. I don't really like to do that here. This is really like doing a physical on your house. That's how I look at this.
When do you give this to your sellers?
Like a couple weeks out from when we're going to list, like once we're about to do photos and everything. Kind of depends on the person and the house, but like I probably won't do this like if I'm like cataloging photos for a house and we're not listing for 6 or 7 months. I'm not going to do this now. I'd rather do it a little bit closer. It's easier just when I can go through it when I'm making special features and upgrades and all that kind of stuff, which I'll usually do like 2 weeks in advance. But we always know, we get like emailed the night before. They're like, did you include the Toto toilets? I'm like, yes, maybe not. Maybe I need to reprint. Oh my God, get a picture of it. So I feel like a lot of those things trickle in at the end, right before they're about to list, making sure that you remember everything. All right.
So you're not sending it prior to the initial listing consultation?
No.
Okay.
That's like an immediate, that's like, I'm not even like, I haven't taken them to dinner. Like we are so far past that. I'm like, whoa, Kate, take a step back. I like to send this when we're all happy and signed and questions are out of the way. That's it. We're like getting married right now. This is like, they just like, we are engaged. That's how I look at this. All right.
In generally, when I talk to sellers, I always also say, what don't you like about the house? They see what sold you on the house. So what was your initial selling point and what don't you like about the house? And the funny thing is they always say, they refrain from saying it. It's like, well, the good news is if it's something you don't like, we can turn it into something good.
I like that too.
And so
I think it's a cool question to ask.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Like that's like my thing. My hope is that I give this to you guys and you like one of my questions sparks a question that would make more sense for how you would ask it. Or, if one of these is like too direct or whatever it is, change it up and put in anything in here. And this is also, talk about a fluid document. I'm sure I'm going to experience something when I go and list this house this weekend where I'm like, could I have asked that in a question? Like, why is this becoming a hiccup now? So you learn, obviously, of course, we all learn from experiences, but that's why I like to keep these documents very fluid. Also, another reason why I like to have this stuff on like Google, a Google platform. I'm familiar with it. I know how to use it. Someone else mentioned Jotform before, which I have used before, but I just don't, I personally, this is a total personal opinion. I don't like feeling like I have to have subscriptions to a bunch of different things. So I just like to, or like logins and stuff. When I go into Google and I log in once with the one login, I'm like, I'm good. Don't ask me to do it again. So I like keeping it simple on Google.
What has been the response from your clients? I mean, are you getting pushback, or is there certain demographics that this works better for? Because I feel like some people would not be open to going through this and feeling like they're doing the homework.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this isn't stuff I've never gotten pushback, but I think it's a lot in like also the delivery. Like this is actually, I would flip that on them and be like, you know, I can't know these answers about your house. Like if you don't want to share them, that's totally fine. First of all, if somebody said they don't want to fill this out, I don't want to work with them in general, because this is a total team effort. And I set this expectation in the listing presentation. Like this is the successful way to list your home. And I need to know this information so that we don't come across, you know, a hiccup down the line. I need to know as much as I can about your house. That's my job. And notice I didn't put anything in here about the building department. Oh, can you send me a copy of, you know, all the COs you have? Can you send me a copy of the survey? Can you send me a copy of the as-built, the drawings, all this kind of stuff? No, that's due diligence. I didn't ask about taxes. Those are things I hate asking a question that I could figure out myself, but I cannot know unless I go and get the serial number of their washing machine and then send it to my inspector what age this is. So I'm only asking questions that there's no way I could know the answer to. Everything else, yeah, if you were asking them to go and give all their due diligence here, that would probably bother me as a seller.
I have one quick question again. How can I access this seller's questionnaire?
I'm going to share all these links. Greta's getting upset. I'm going to send all these links and we'll upload them in the platform later on today. And I'll just probably prompt you guys to make a copy of each of them so you can go in and edit it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, I'm being asked to remind this. Can we do an expert mentor feedback poll now? Was that smooth enough for everybody? I just got it. Okay, we're going to put up a poll. And if I don't get all fives, you guys, no one's getting the book next week. No, just kidding. I'll still give it to you. Wow, these are really in depth. Can I rate myself? Oh, no. Wait, do I see the answers in person? That makes me so uncomfortable, guys. Oh my God, I can. Great. All right, we got some coaches' pets in here. This is good. I like you guys. This is good. All right, cool. So I'll let that run for a few more minutes. And then next week, just by like a show of like a thumbs up, you guys can put in the chat. Are we good? I have no idea what I have planned for next week. I'm sure it's in the topics and it is planned. I'm prepared for it, but are we good pivoting to that book instead? Okay.
Yes.
So we'll do that. And then I'll leave like 5 minutes at the beginning of it. So if there's any questions that you guys had or like hurdles, you know, you came across with setting up your questionnaires, we can also go through that and I can help troubleshoot it if possible. Okay, cool.
Kate, may I make a comment? This is Helena Noonan.
Yeah.
Hello, love this class. It was incredible. I'm here in California, and what I do with Jotform is that I have every single MLS field in there for the clients to put in their information. So it makes the input into the MLS super, super easy. Verbatim. We created this form verbatim. So it's really, really easy for us to add the listing to the MLS, and 99.9% we are accurate, you know, with the information. So I love those forms. Looking forward to seeing yours, you know, about the buyers and the sellers and all of that. Really, really cool.
Good. Yeah. And that's a whole other thing. Like if there's things in the MLS that you guys want to go in and like there's certain boxes you want to fill out or you find would be hard, like I said before, I personally wouldn't ask a question that I could go find out myself. If I need to ask the seller, I'll go and ask them. But it's going to be everybody's preference. So if you feel like that's a better way of going about it, go for it and put in anything, from the MLS that you want in there as well. Totally fluid, totally for you guys, whatever would make your lives easier. All right.
Hey, Kate, it's Tracy
Yeah.
from Charlotte.
Hey.
I just posted in the chat where you can have the responses sent to you, emailed to you.
Oh my
So
God,
it's
yeah.
actually, it's next to settings, which is interesting.
Okay.
And you click on responses and then the top
The
field is-
destination.
No,
Or in the email.
that one. Get email
Got it.
notifications.
Perfect. Okay. Everybody go look at the chat and thank Tracy because she's my really helpful assistant today. So that's perfect. That's so helpful. All right. Thank you again. All right, everybody. I am out of here until next week. All right. See you guys. Bye.